So what a year this has been. I don't know about you, but I'm glad that it's winding down or it's coming to an end. And as we do that, I just thought to sort of share a couple of things about this year that have been amazing for me and hopefully encourage you and see how we can all sort of like just take a moment to breathe in, and also just be grateful for what the year has been. I always say, we have to be able to review, but we also have to recover, because the recovery is what helps you, even in workouts, it's what helps you to be able to perform better moving forward. So what has the year been for you? I'd love to hear that, but in the moment, let me share just a couple of highlights for me as far as green jobs are concerned, and also just one or two at a personal level. So when I think about this year, and as far as climate change is concerned, I would say it's been an amazing year for Africa. For the most part, there's been quite a bit of emphasis, focus, and just attention when it comes to the African continent in terms of climate change. And perhaps the reason could be because of the Africa Climate Summit. That is a definite highlight for many people who are in the climate space and who are either from the African continent or reside on the African continent. It was a major deal because, like we've discussed in previous episodes, there's been a lot of feature around what Africa really wants at the end of the day. The question is the push and the momentum that was garnered, especially at Africa Climate Summit and at the Paris Summit in June, whether that momentum has been sustained or how that momentum can be sustained moving forward. And so when I think about this year, one of the things I would take away is it's a great start that we had, but it's something that we need to be able to continue. And this cannot be done by one person or one country. It's something that needs to be done by the 54 countries in Africa and drive towards one common goal. And so we have to continue to be able to bring our focus together to address the issue of climate change, but also just to champion things that interest us. Because like I mentioned in a previous episode, when it comes to COP conversations or climate conversations in general, it's about interests, and so we are the ones to safeguard what is of interest to the continent of Africa. My second takeaway from this year is that regardless of the challenges or the seeming challenges that have been there, there's been a lot of successful tales that have come out. You only need to look at the climate tech space in Africa to see that there's quite a bit of push when it comes to addressing the issue of climate change, but also just emerging technology. While there's there's been a significant reduction in climate finance coming into the continent for sure, there's definitely quite a bit of push when it comes to climate tech, but then it's something that we need to foster. We definitely do need to create a platform for innovation, especially for young people. The third one would be, like I said in a previous episode, there's a lot of climate finance that has been committed in this COP 28. And so as I think about this last year, there was a lot of push around global restructuring of the global finance infrastructure. There was a lot of push around the loss and damage fund because that came up in the COP27 last year. And so the whole of this year, there's been quite a significant push. But then the honest truth is perhaps not much has been done beyond the commitments that were made at COP28. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the translation of that commitment into tangible outputs, not just for Africa, but for the global South, we need to be able to position ourselves as Africa to say, this is how we want to participate and create an enabling environment when it comes to attracting investment. Because we've seen the challenges around developed countries putting money together. And so that may not necessarily be the way to over-rely, or if we over-rely on waiting on developed countries or fossil fuel dependent countries to contribute towards addressing the issue of climate change in developing countries, that may take a while. So we have to be innovative as countries to be able to know how to attract investment, because there's increasing appetite from private sector to put in money in climate finance, because everyone knows that this is the way the world is going. But the money will go to nations that are ready. nations that have the right environment when it comes to things like carbon removals, for example, technologies, when it comes to carbon markets in terms of purchase of carbon credits. So we have to be able to create the necessary environment when it comes to investments. My last point as I reflect on this year is obviously on green jobs. There's been an increased interest when it comes to green jobs in general, but there's also been a hurdle when it comes to translating the conversation or the advocacy to tangible outputs. And as we know, green jobs go hand in hand with investments. And so we're grateful for the amount and commitments that have been made, especially at COP28, as far as climate finance is concerned. And so that means that we have to be able to create policies that translate to job creation on the ground in countries and especially in Africa. And that means that for the governments in Africa, we have to be able to be very deliberate in terms of making sure that the climate finance or investments that come in are not just recycled, but that they are translating to impact on the ground. And so on a climate change perspective, as I review the year, those are some of the highlights for me and things that we should look into and then build on as we go into next year.